What's up, my folks? I hope everyone is doing good. You prancing around for everybody, girl? I really enjoy this dog. She's coming a long way, man. She's really she's pushing my buttons. I really like her. Come here, girl. She's my buddy now. Anyway, I'm gonna do a video. It's gonna be a pretty. It might be educational, some of you guys. First of all, before we get into it, I had some questions about, I guess, that picture of Ann on that last video about cut gear. This is a little vest that I just got the other day, and a buddy of mine gave it to me for one of my smaller dogs. Where you can get them from? Well, this is a show and go. Then you have the bacon shakers, which is from Jitterbug. You got Southern Cross. All of them make superior cut gear. I mean, they're very it's like different styles. Like this one here is more of a lighter style gear. It doesn't cover the withers on the dog and the haunches, but I mean, it's kind of like people are asking me, do you really need it? Well, it depends what you're doing with a dog. A lot of the vests come just like that. They don't have the front flaps protecting them, the shields. You know, when I first started, when I was hog hunting a lot when I was younger, the cut collar was the main thing that really everyone had. Then as time has progressed, the gear has gotten a lot better. I'll put that number there if you like this one. And a lot more evolved. You know what I mean? You got the Aussie shields on them, and you know, you got the total, I call them the Rambo gear. You know, they cover the whole dog pretty much, which, you know, different times of year, if you're in a cold environment, that's okay. But, you know, you got to think about heat too, because if the dog gets overheated, you're in trouble. I kind of like a vest like this, you know. But yeah, honestly, guys, I mean, it would almost be considered cruel in my mind to not use the gear if you have able, you know. Sometimes you might be riding down the road and you don't have time to put it on, but you're gonna find, I mean, they get killed with the gear on sometimes, okay? Without the gear, some of these hogs now, it's a different level, man. People are nowadays, they taking you know, they're raising these hogs just to hunt. They're giving them minerals, calcium, wormer, feed. The damn hogs are bruisers now. I mean, you're seeing a lot bigger, badder hogs in the last decade than you know we used to have in the 90s. I mean, a lot of the hogs that we caught in the 90s, to catch something over 200 pounds was a real feat. You know, nowadays that's nothing. I mean, really, I'm just being honest with you. I mean, 200 pounds with 3-inch teeth is the average. You know what I mean? You know, so you guys take that in consideration. I've had a lot of people ask me about starting it. Yeah, I believe you do need some cut gear. I mean, I would, okay? Especially if you got a dog that's unfamiliar with what they're dealing with. Go ahead and spend the money. The prices of them vary. I mean, they had like the swamp dogs, you know, you can get those for 130 bucks. You know, plan on spending a couple $100 on a nice vest, have them fit, okay? Like people are asking the size. I know that like the Southern Cross, the medium will fit like a 50 to 52, 54, 55 pound dog about perfect for the most part, the ones that I've seen. You know, but go ahead and measure your dog. This one was measured and made out for a smaller dog, but you know, they'll custom build them for you. And you know, get the ones with the front flaps on them and a good neck, you know, because the back, the wither guards and all that stuff is a good, if you have the ability to hunt in cooler weather and you have the time to put them on before. But if they're riding around with that shit on all day in the summertime, it's going to overheat them. Consider something like this. But yes, I think you really do need to have vests on them. I mean, especially if the dog is unexperienced, even if they're experienced, man. These hogs nowadays that you're going to get on are going to be probably caught before, so they're going to have some experience dealing with a dog, and they're usually pretty strong and healthy animals. You know, you can get into some of the management areas, you know, they're still true wild, no influence, but most of the club hogs and stuff, they getting on that deer feed, they're getting on minerals, they get all what they need to grow properly. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about breeding. I had a comment on that last post I put up with the breeding of Rusty and Dirty Face Ann. Okay, about inbreeding. Well, that's a big fat no for me. Well, that's perfect. That's the kind of person that needs to probably hear this video. It's probably a good one for someone in that mindset, because and I'm not ridiculing people, but people have been so dumbed down on these dogs nowadays that they just don't understand what that's why I say a lot of you guys are better off is buying your puppies from guys that know what they're doing than trying to become breeders. It's a lot to it, and it takes a lot of knowledge, a lot of trial and error to figure it out. Okay, now putting a family together and inbreeding, it kind of goes hand in hand. You're going to have to, every dog is inbred somewhere. If you look, if you say you got a Jeep dog, it's an inbred dog. It's line bred or inbred, whatever you want to call it. But there's a lot of, if it's got Jeep in it, it's been bred family to family, back to back, you know, inbred. Now, the way I do breedings is a little different. I don't try to chase strong paperwork where the whole thing is just covered up in one dog's name. Okay. Now, I will take and breed, as you could say, inbreed those dogs together, just like Ann, okay? Ann is off of Rusty's sister back to Trouble, okay? Then we bred Rusty back to Ann. So what you have is a niece to an uncle. There's a lot of different gene pools to pull in there. And Rusty and Rita and all those dogs were not heavily inbred dogs. Yes, they are on the top side, they are, you know, heavy dynamite bred. And then but on the bottom, you have the outlaw Niggerino influence. So when breeding back to Ann, you have the dynamite outlaw Niggerino crossed out with a totally different family of dogs, the Hollingsworth Bull, the Red Pirate stuff. So you got a lot of gene pool. You're still going to have dogs that can perform, not have health problems. Now, say that Rusty was 100% purebred, it's line bred the shit out of, inbred the shit out of, say, dynamite. And then Ann was just the same thing with just a little out. No, I wouldn't have done that. Okay. But you got to, like, when you're breeding for your family of dogs, you got to figure out what's working, what blood you like, how to breed the phenotypes together. Okay. Just like this little bitch here. Okay. This is a daughter of Rusty, believe it or not, back to a bitch that is a triple bred. Well, it's off a dog called Tripler's Blow, which is off of Dynamite as well, back to a daughter of his, back to a brother sister breeding of it. You know what I mean? So it's a real heavy Dynamite, but the out is the Dink, which the Dink is another Frisco Jeep Rascal cross. So you have that influence in it. Now, instead of breeding her back to Rusty, what I would do is, if she turns out really good and performing good, she's still a puppy now, she's just growing into herself, I would take a puppy off of Ann and Rusty. Oh, you see what I'm saying? Because that's two families that we know go together. We know that Bullio Hollingsworth Bull will go good with all that stuff. Breed offspring off of them back into her. Okay? Now, looking at the papers, you're going to see a real heavy influence of the Rusty stuff, the outlaw, the Dynamite Outlaw Niggerino, with a lot of the other Dynamite coming from her bottom side. But you have a lot of other genes to pull from. Okay? It's not like, say, you have a dog that's 200 times Mayday through the pedigree, and then you're breeding brothers and sisters, and, you know, it's a totally different way to do it. All right? And then you got to look at phenotypes, too. Like, I know that this blood right here works good with him. The phenotypes on these dogs are what I would want to cross with. He's a little lug. He's a little stocky, heavy bred dog. But he's double buster with Rita for the out. So you still got the same family. Breed him to something like that, that's going to be more of a leggy, longer. You're just talking, ain't you? Leggy, longer female. You're going to get a really good bred offspring. Like I said, if they can't breed, they can't hunt. That's just a fact. So you got to keep all the phenotypes in mind, as well as the blood behind them. But don't think for 1 second that because you breeding an uncle to a niece, that's too inbred. And it really depends on the way they're put together in the first place. You know, sometimes I might say, hey, yeah, that's a little too tight. Once you cross out a little something first, then go back to it. But you can always go out and go back in. All right. And this is always Breeding dogs is always, you're always having to put the cart before the horse. All right. In your future plans. It doesn't always work out that way, but you always want to have something to go back with. That's what this dog is. This will be an outcross bitch eventually when I get to where I'm ready to outcross dogs. You see what I mean? That's so when you have a dog that's on a different side, you know, keep really good bred, really fine families of dogs, and you can cross them back and forth and make good dogs. It's not a matter of inbred. They're not going to be, you know, you're going to have problems. It's how you're putting them together. Now, I do not like a super inbred dog. Like, you got some of these old bloodlines now that people like, just like Turtle Buster, for instance. If you got a pure Turtle Buster dog right now, he's inbred. He's inbred as shit. And if the papers are correct, he's really inbred. He's not going to be a great performing animal. That's when you're going to get into problems like even bone structure, health issues, bitches being sterile, males being sterile, small litters, pyometry a lot, you know, heart murmurs, no endurance, barrel chest, structure. Like I said, it's just bad teeth, weak bones. I mean, all that shit comes from when you do it too much. But you can take a dog like that and cross him completely out into something and get phenomenal animals. You just got to quit worrying about how many names of dogs is in the papers. That shit's for internet junkies, paperheads. That doesn't matter in the real world. You want to build performance dogs, you got to breed them to be performance dogs. And then the truth of the matter is, once you figure out how a family's clicking and you got that click popping, you don't want to go too far away. You want to keep going out, going back in, going out, going back in, and only choose the finest you can. Like with Rusty, he's a very big part of my future program. Okay. I'm breeding Rusty to all kinds of my dogs now to keep those offspring to go back and forth together, because I love the way they're performing. I love their attitude. They're very, very intelligent. That dirty face Ann dog's one of the smartest bitches you'll ever lay your eyes on. She's intelligent, man. You could put a 6-month-old baby down on the ground with her. She'd just go lay next to it. I mean, but you put a hog in front of her, she's a total nightmare. You know, I mean, that's what these dogs are supposed to be like. You know, if you're breeding from a dumbass family of dogs to begin with and you're inbreeding on it, you're just going to get more of the same. Now, I'm not saying you can't take a real high-strung, hyperbole dog and breed him into something and cross it back out and get good dogs. Now, you can get dogs the total package. But, you know, it's just a game of you got to breed for what you want. And this is a little bit different than the old way of breeding dogs. You got to have intelligence. And I'm not just talking about hunting intelligence. I mean all the way around. You got to have dogs that are smart and can recognize and listen and be worth having, you know. But as far as like inbreeding, if you got a Pitbull and he's any kind of family, he's going to be inbred somewhere. I promise you that. There was only so many dogs to start it, you know. Or you just got a street mutt that you don't know what it is anyway, and hell, he might be his brother sister breed and you don't know. But that's how you do it, guys. You don't listen to all this other bullshit or try to chase how many times a dog's in the pedigree. I hate when I see this is the tightest this or the tightest that. And then when the dogs come out, they're like, well, they weren't worth the shit. Well, what did you expect, goober? What the fuck did you expect? You know, you got to put something in there that works together, that'll synergize that shit and work together. Now, some families you can, like, I've noticed, like, my Frisco stuff, people always talk, oh, I don't like Frisco. Well, that's good. Save it for me, because I like them. I'm very fond of the Frisco Yoko dogs. I mean, I really am. Like this bitch right here, she's got the build a lot of the Weird Jack stuff I've seen. You know, that's what her Dink is. The out is Frisco and Weird Jack. You know, that's a lot of them dogs I've seen come, you know, more of a built like that. Their phenotype has been that way. I've seen something like Dink himself was a beautiful little dog. I mean, really shovel-headed and real good structure and all. But they're always going to go back to the average of their family. Okay. And like, if you look at this, it's only a quarter of that. And she's pulling from that. The Frisco stuff, a lot of times, Frisco Yoko, you'll get dogs like this and you can breed them together and they'll come out with when the tighter you get them, the stockier, more their noses will turn up. It's just like when you start inbreeding a dog, you get that look. Okay, you guys know what I'm talking about. They know what I'm talking about. What are you barking at me for? You just want to play. But you know, it's there's a lot to it, and like I said, a lot of you guys would be better off instead of trying to breed dogs that just save your money and buy good puppies from people and be happy. And then once you figure it out, then start doing it. But trying to jump off the gate like you know what you're doing, you're going to have a lot of mistakes. It's going to be a lot of mistakes, and you're going to be a lot of disappointment, and that's what turns people away from them, and they just give up on them. So, yes, you can inbreed if you know what you're doing, and you can still get good outcomes. It's very possible. But the problem today is people have not bred for bulldogs. They've bred for papers. And like I said, you got to pay attention to that phenotype too. Like this bitch right here is a beautiful, well-bred little bitch, and her body structure is great. And this is something I could cross into something and get good dogs in the future and have a complete outcross. You understand what I'm saying? A complete outcross and freshen the whole thing up. You know, a lot of people don't like doing that because they don't like seeing nothing else on them papers. But I don't care about that. I want dogs that can perform, hunt, and have intelligence. Now, let's talk a little bit of something else, man. I was sent the information yesterday. Man, I'm sure the alarm system channels on here, the whoop whoop guys have already put this out, but I haven't paid attention. But they may not have. Did y'all hear about the guy that got 475 years for these dogs? That's got to be some kind of record, man. 475 years. And I don't even know if they actually caught him fighting dogs. He just had them. He had like 100 dogs chained up. I guess really in bad conditions and all that stuff. And that was enough to convict that man and put that man in prison for 475 years. I mean, I don't even know if I've ever seen someone kill a whole family and get that. You know what I mean? That is just unbelievable. And there you go. When I say people getting their feelings on these dogs, and they've been dumbed down so bad, you know, prosecuted because dogs are on the chain next to each other because it makes them aggressive is what the excuse was. Look at my dogs. They're right next to each other. They don't, it doesn't make them aggressive. I mean, but I keep my dogs on relatively good setups. You know what I mean? They're not wanting for anything. Any dog that's not fed right and not taken care of right, yeah, they're going to probably get aggressive. But they would get aggressive being in a kennel, in the yard, anything. If they don't have what they need, they got to be, you know, content with life. It's like a person. If he's not happy, I mean, he's going to get agitated. But man, that's amazing, guys. 475 years, for having, he had like 100 dogs, I think, but still, Jesus Christ, man, you're gonna lock a man up for five, 6 lifetimes. That's crazy, but that's the world we live in now. So that's just got to be another example of why I tell you guys to be real selective. I mean, I had to learn the hard way too. You just can't be around anybody. You got to take ace care of your animals. You know, I mean, don't give them any reason to come after you. You know what I mean? I mean, I like to think I'm one of the finest caretakers there are on these dogs. And I mean, I know there's people that have more money, but money doesn't mean you can't take care of your animals. I mean, like me, I'm definitely not rich, but you got to put some time equity in them. You know, build good dog houses, good chain outs, good areas, feed them good feed, give them attention, keep them clean, keep them free from fleas. I mean, make sure you're doing all these things because it's like I've been saying for the last 5 years, it's a war. It's hard to keep these animals, man. And the better we can take care of them and the better we can you know, show the communities that we, you know, it's not such a bad thing. I've had comments about the chain outs. Well, man, they really do got a lot of yard. Yeah, they got a lot of room. Look how big this area is. That's bigger than some people's whole backyards, man. You know, but yeah, do right because man, it's ridiculous. 475 years, and that was the same the same guy that they found Thaxton's paperwork in his cabinet and what got Thaxton involved with it. So there's a lot going on there that wasn't, you know, it's an example being made. So you guys be very careful with your animal husbandry. Be on the par. You're feeding. Don't let them get down. I mean, you know, and I'm bad about picking up strays, man. I got 3 or 4 strays on my yard right now. I just can't stand to see a dog starve to death, abandoned. You know, people out here, they just throw the damn dogs out, and, you know, you see them out here, and I've watched them go from dogs looking like they're halfway cared for to skin and bones in a month. You know, I'll pick that dog up and feed him up and try to find a home for him. And I got several on my yard like that right now. And it's scary now. It makes a man not even want to do that. You know what I mean? Because if they come in and say, oh, look at this dog because he's not in the best shape. Well, that had nothing to do with me. I'm trying to be humane and help the animal out. You know what I'm saying? But it makes a man not even want to do that. But I'm still going to do it because I just can't stand to see them starve. I mean, we had a Great Dane running around here that went all over Facebook, eating out deer carcasses at deer dumps. That's what they was feeding. I was taking food and dumping out to them. I couldn't get my hands on her. I would have took and brought the damn dog back here and put her in a kennel and fattened her up. I know somebody would have liked the dog, but she was just wild acted, man. She wouldn't let me get 10 feet from her. What's the matter? I'm not going to put this on. I'm trying to get her used to putting the vest on. She don't like that vest. Come on back, girl. I don't have it. She don't know what to think. I got to, every day you got to put that vest on them and get them used to it, you know, so they it ain't such a shocker for them, you know. But yeah, I mean, it makes people just not even want to help poor looking animals on the street because they don't want to get in trouble for having them in their possession. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. I mean, you still got to have a heart, man. And, you know, it ain't like our animal control has the time to come out and try to catch these animals, and they don't have the room or the resources to take care of them. So really it is, unless you're going to go hunt him down and shoot him. I mean, to put him out of his misery, that's the only option they have, unless you can just sit there and watch one starve to death. And then they're going to start attacking people's livestock, kids at the school bus and shit like that. So really it's the right thing to do at being a good citizen if you have the ability, which I have a lot of empty spots. So yeah, I got like 4 or 5 right now that different dogs, you know, just not necessarily pit bulls, but there's a couple that were bulldogs. I don't know what they are, but yeah, just like old Lucky Girl I had that red bitch years ago, or Happy. You know, I took her and fattened her up and got her a good home. It's just sometimes we got to do that, you know, for our community, but because no one else is going to do it. It's going to be up to us. No one else gives a shit. I'm telling you, they'll you know, act like they do if they can badmouth somebody, you know. But you want to show me that you're really an animal lover when you see them dogs in the parking lots and all that. Stop, pick him up, take him home, get him healed up and fattened up, and then go get a home for him that's a good solid home for me. Then you can come to me and talk about a dog being on a chain. Okay, until you can do that shit, don't talk about a dog being on a chain to me. So anyway, folks, y'all take care, y'all stay safe, and y'all keep on bulldogging.